Hello, hello. Welcome back to For Book's Sake. I am Heather Roberts, and with me,
I am Veronica Adams.
and we are here from 1852 Media, and we are going to be talking today about AI, artificial intelligence. And yeah, so Veronica and I are both licensed attorneys in different states. We no longer practice law, but
And
you
let's
can.
be clear, we are not your lawyers.
Correct. We are not, this is not legal advice. We are not your lawyers. This is us having a conversation because we cannot turn the legal parts of our brains off when we talk about
Yeah,
AI in the publishing world.
absolutely.
And let me just, we'll put it out there. So I am not opposed to AI in some situations. I think it's layered. Um, it
Nuanced.
nuanced.
Yeah.
Yes. It's the favorite lawyer reply. It depends. It depends. Uh, whereas
Yeah.
Veronica has a bit more of a healthy skepticism, shall we
Yes.
say.
Yes. So just in the interest of full transparency, Heather plays with AI.
I
I
do.
do not. I do not. I have not opened that door for myself professionally or personally in any of my hobbies. Um, but I am paying attention and I'm consuming a lot of information, and I remain a very healthy skeptic as of now.
Yes. So from my playing with AI, here is what I will take away. I will give you my insights. AI can be a very useful time-saving tool occasionally. However, AI can also be a freaking moron. Like
Mm,
literally after, I don't know, I'm talking about like Chat GPT specifically. I've also played around with some grant writing AI programs for a nonprofit that I'm involved with. Um, and it gets dumb. It gets it gets dumb.
it's a
And it starts,
reflection of what the
yeah,
humans give it.
it starts making shit up half the time. So you can't just I very much, if you are, I'm cautioning people. If you are just putting something into an AI generator and then thinking that what you're going to get out of it is going to be ready for public consumption, hard no. No, it is not. You need to use your human eyes and read them with your human brain and do some critical thinking skills and decide whether that is perfectly acceptable to go out into the public universe or not.
Right. Right.
I mean, there was recently a not book publishing, but there was recently a lawyer who decided to skip a couple steps and submitted a brief that was this was all the rage in the lawyer channels.
Yeah.
Submitted a brief that was completely generated by AI. And
Citing cases that didn't exist, that the
yes,
AI just made up to support the argument made in the brief.
yeah. Talk about, oh my God, my stomach drops literally just thinking about that situation. Like, oh my God.
I
The
know.
judge raked this attorney over the
You,
coals.
you can just light these three things on my wall back
Yeah.
here on fire in that scenario, because at that point your license
Oh,
in
yeah.
jeopardy, your reputation with the bench, with all of the judges that you appear before, absolutely in the toilet. So
Trashed.
like,
Trashed.
just find something else to do, like we did.
Right. Yeah, like your credibility is gone.
Yeah.
So to think that AI is going to be replacing lawyers, or if you are trying to use AI to give you legal advice, don't do that. Be wary. It might give you small nuggets of good information. It might also make up case law that does not exist. So, and that's the same problem that we're running into in the book publishing industry at
Yes,
times.
yes. Our
Um,
our beloved authors, and I know everybody has a different opinion about this. Some of them have dived headfirst into using these tools, which is
yeah,
great.
yeah.
No issue as long as you understand the issues. So,
So there are a couple kinds of AI generators. So there's a
mhm.
text creation AI. That's what ChatGPT is, or
Yes.
Bard, for example. Although Bard is changing a little bit. That's Google's AI. Well, let's talk about ChatGPT. So with ChatGPT, you have to give it a text prompt and then it will give you a text answer. There are limitations on the information that is being pulled from ChatGPT. So anything, I think it stops at like 2020 or 2021 with information that it can go and pull from.
Mhm.
So that's a big, hey, you need to know that too, because
Yep.
anything in the past 2 years is not going to be showing up as a reply on ChatGPT.
Right.
So you can't go and ask it, for example, to give you a list of, book talkers that have had this hashtag in the past, 2 months.
Right.
Not now, if it could do that, that'd be a very useful tool now, wouldn't it be? That would be lovely. But you can ask it to do that. It's going to pull old information.
Right.
And that is then not very useful any longer. So if you're using it for something like that, very time efficient, useful tool, right? That is fantastic. Scrubbing the internet for data. Love to see it.
Yep.
But when you're then asking it complex questions or having it try to do something complex, you then run into the risk and creating new things. That's when it starts to get a little hairy because you have to remember it's pulling from somewhere. What are the sources that it is
Right.
pulling from?
Right.
So if all of these AI generators, they're pulling from somewhere. I think that the text ones are a little less legally complicated than the image ones. I don't know. I mean, I guess they're probably the same legal issue. I just look at it very differently. I don't know.
Sure. Sure. Sure.
Um, so for me, the text ones, okay, if you are putting in, this is my opinion only. If you are putting in words that you created in an outline form or in some sort of long summary form,
Mhm.
and you are then asking it to give you a first draft of that, basically reformatting the information that you put in into a different format. That is very different to me from a legal perspective than if you say, write me a first chapter of a book about XYZ in the style of insert author here.
Right.
Two very different things.
Yeah.
One is blatant, essentially plagiarism or stealing or create is what you've created is potentially new, unclear because where did they pull from?
Right. Well, and how many instructions did you give the AI in terms of changing specific elements, right? So,
Right.
like, I think about some of the most scandalous plagiarizing cases that we have been witness to in the indie publishing community. And how oftentimes what happens when someone gets caught doing that is because they've taken whole passages,
Yeah.
um, multiple sentences, multiple paragraphs, and sometimes they will only change one or two details, the names of characters, or somebody's physical identification, a different eye color, a different height, or a different skin color, or whatever.
Right.
They'll rename a location, but it'll be the same. They're going out on a date to the bar. The bar has a different name, but it's still a bar, right? Um, and if you're going to use AI to write something in the style of another author, or any author for that matter, are you also giving the AI the instructions to change the details too? Right?
Right. Is it mosaic plagiarism?
Exactly.
I had knowledge of a situation, I'll be very vague here, in which an author was alleging that another author had done, not with, this was before AI, but had
Mhm.
done essentially mosaic plagiarism of her title. And it was a little hard to follow, but also potentially, what's the word? Convincing. There we go.
Mhm.
When you looked at the evidence in the totality. However, when it was presented to the court did not understand. what was happening. Because in the
Right.
court's perspective, you have to remember courts are ancient tribunals. they and those that sit upon the bench are usually not very progressive. Think of them like Congress, right? When Congress
Technologically unskilled people of a
technologically
certain
unsavvy,
generation.
yes.
Yes.
And so presenting them with any sort of technologically savvy, plagiaristic style argument often does not land where you hope it's going to land. And for that particular author, it did not land where she hoped it was
Right.
going to land.
Right.
Um, and it's a little concerning for our industry as to what is going to be considered plagiarism and what is not
Right.
going to be
Right.
considered
Are
plagiarism.
you asking some sort of technology to create something and then it does what you've asked it to do, but it draws on sources that you don't understand it has access to. It takes full passages from another work,
Right.
from any work, not just published books.
Yeah. And we
Stealing, borrowing and inserting phrases from blog posts. Anybody's
right.
creative, original work. It does not matter.
And that also goes to the question of if people stop creating the original work,
Mhm.
what is eventually going to then be the sources of the new work that is being created? So
Sure.
if people are only using AI to create work and no original work is being written and created,
Mhm.
then at some point there's going to be a dried up source, you know,
Yeah,
bucket to pull
absolutely. You're
from.
going to have a lack of material because it's all been done before. And there's nothing new
And
to
original.
draw from or to teach the AI to try and create.
Right.
Um,
Although
that's a philosophical problem with
that
AI, if
is,
you
it
ask
is.
me, because you will eventually remove all human creativity from the process.
And, some people can't imagine even that being a possibility because human creativity is so vibrant in many people's,
Mhm.
worlds. And
Sure.
for that, I mean, thank goodness. But at the same time, if your work is constantly being stolen or repurposed or whatever,
Right.
um, it's going to suck the the creative spirit out of you too.
Sure.
Um, I think it's a good segue into images. So image
Yeah.
creation, I
Sure.
think, is more problematic at this particular point because I'm not sure of legal commercial uses that you can use that tool for. So like
Right.
for ChatGPT and other creator, text creation tools, I see a lot of completely legal, commercial use style use of that tool.
Right.
There's
Right.
there's options there. But when you're looking at Midjourney and you're asking it to create you a book cover or some other commercial product that you're then going to go sell,
A marketing banner or any
yeah,
sort of promotional image that you are going to use in a commercial way.
I don't see how there is any legal application of using that style of image creation in a commercial manner. I don't see it.
Mhm.
Am I missing something? Like, I,
Well, okay, so we don't necessarily know what licenses are accessible by the artificial intelligence, right? So like there could be
sure,
a database of licensed images
could be.
um that we are
That's
just unaware of. But what's to stop the AI from becoming informed enough to go beyond the parameters of the images that it has access to with a license and to scour the internet, any database that's available to it, for images that it doesn't have licenses for?
right. And I think, I
Images
mean,
that were created and that are owned, that are the intellectual property and the artistic property of real human beings.
from the current state of examples
Mhm.
I've seen, it's essentially the wild, wild west. There does not seem to be any
Seems, yeah,
limitations.
seems to be.
put
Yeah.
upon it. I mean, if it was limited somehow to being only able to be pulled from licensed stock art, for example, to create a new stock art thing, and then you're
Yeah.
paying a license fee for that image, that is potentially doable. That's just not what's happening.
Right.
Midjourney claims that they can provide you with a license for an image, but I don't see how they're making that claim legally. I'm
Well, so their license for the image that Midjourney creates, or licenses
Yes.
for all of the images that Midjourney drew from to create the final product that you requested, because those are two completely different licensing issues.
Well, exactly.
And
So
I,
they're
for one, don't want Midjourney's license because it's
no.
not worth the paper it would be printed on
Yes.
without the license for all of the images that went into the Midjourney creation in the first
I
place.
mean, I look at it as a book cover designer who's like a traditional one, right? Like one who's
Mhm.
using actual thoughts and images to create it. You have to
Who's
go,
relying on their human creativity.
yes. So you have to go out and purchase those licenses for those images that you're using to then
Mhm.
smoosh together in whatever pretty way, to make that final book cover that looks nothing really like any of those individual images. It's a conglomeration of all of them, right?
Right.
But you've had to go out and purchase the licenses for all those individual images in order to create that final one product image.
Yeah.
And then that artist now can create a license to the author and provide that license to them for whatever that term is. And whatever the terms are. That is a completely legal way that has been occurring for years and years and years of doing book covers, for example. So when you're trying to skip over that and go to an AI tool to do that, and you're getting that license, quote unquote, from that Mid Journey, for example,
Right.
without when you know that they have not received any of the licenses from the individual images that made up
Right.
that final image, then there's absolutely no basis legally that I can see. And I don't think a court is going to be able to find one either, um, for a valid that makes that final license a valid one. I
Right.
just don't see it
Right.
because there are simply legal principles in play here that do not exist in that scenario.
Mhm.
So that's, as an author, that means that you shouldn't be making anything using these image generation creators that you're using for your business. You shouldn't do it.
With one caveat, if you are an experienced intellectual property attorney and you have some sort of nuanced understanding of this, you might be able to take the risk if you're
Maybe.
prepared to defend it in court. But yeah, for the rest of us, I, the last thing I want is someone suing me for
Yeah.
stealing their stuff,
Right.
because that's a financial morass that I can't get out of and recover my business.
Yeah.
And the plagiarism case I was thinking of earlier, the author in question um indicated that she had trusted a ghostwriter who had let her down and engaged in these completely unacceptable, unethical, illegal practices. And it ruined her career. She disappeared into the ether. Most of her books have been unpublished from all of the retailers where they were originally available for sale. And there are only a handful of her books still out there, I think in maybe paperback format or something. And the reviews are reflective of what happened.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. The indie book community does not forget.
no, no.
No,
And stealing is really not tolerated
it's
at
really
all.
not. And so, I mean, I've seen a lot of uptick of cover designers trying to use AI in their cover
Hmm.
art, and I just have to really, really just sort of suggest maybe you don't.
Side eye.
Side eye
Side eye.
until we have something more conclusive as to the legalities of the intellectual property that's being used
Right.
in the creation of
Right.
these images, big side eye, because it's just not worth it. It's not worth getting slapped with a lawsuit.
Proceed
And
at your own risk.
yeah, I just don't see it being worth it at all.
Right. Well,
And that's just me.
and to that end too, I for one don't want to see the industry become completely devoid of the element of human creativity. Like
I totally agree.
if AI can be well, we rely on AI in more ways than I appreciate. So I claim to be a healthy skeptic, but then I use scheduling software for
Right.
emails and social media posts, and that really is technically a very very limited form of AI, right? Like
Predictive
I'm
text is technically AI.
exactly. So um it does help administratively,
Yeah.
but I would hate to see ideas lost, stories never written and published, the same old tropes recycled again and again and again, blurbs and synopses looking all identical,
Yeah. Yeah.
cover design. Oh gosh, every what? 18 months to 2 years, there is a cycle of like new design and a new aesthetic and a new direction for covers in most genres. I mean,
Yeah.
there are some genres where design stays pretty much the same, but especially in romance.
There's
And
always new trends. Yeah.
that's from human creativity, not because an algorithm and a bunch of code said this is what you should like, you
Right.
know. And I would hate to see the industry lose all of that just because everyone started
Yeah.
messing around with AI.
And just because, so we talked about this a little bit on the last episode at the tail
Yeah.
end when we were teasing this one. But Photoshop, like I was saying, just came out with
Oh,
their
yes.
beta. Yes.
Yes.
And that is, see, that I view as totally different for a couple of reasons. One, it's an editing software.
Mhm.
So it's not just a generation software. It
Right.
is meant to edit a photo that you already have in order to make it better or a different size or more complete or what
The
have you.
the assumption is you have some sort of legal right to be using that photo, right? It's either your
Correct.
original photo that you took, or it's a photo that you've licensed, or it's a stock photo that doesn't require, it's open use. There is no
Right.
license required.
So I think
Um,
if you're a book cover designer and you are, using that Photoshop and you use that tool and you have a photo that you need just like, because this happens, a teensy bit more on this side, on whatever, or than that
yeah,
side.
yeah.
I think creating that or removing someone from the background with,
Mhm.
two types in a click, that's totally legit. I see those as more legitimate uses of that type of AI technology,
Absolutely.
and that can be used for commercial use because you're not then adding something that you don't know where the source is from. That's
Right.
my problem, is where you don't know the sources. Everything goes back to where's
Mhm.
the source from.
Right.
If you are with the Photoshop one, they're taking the photo that you have and then usually creating something from pieces of that photo. Now, of course, you can use it where you are adding things into it, but then think you need to question where is that coming from?
Right. Well, it's the difference between um delegating creativity and enhancing it or
Right,
accelerating it, right? So in a lot of the text generation scenarios that we've talked about, you're literally delegating the creativity to the AI. You're giving it whatever instructions and parameters and expecting it to do the actual creation. With this new Photoshop tool, you're still the one with the aesthetic eye here, designing
right,
and telling the AI to do X, Y, and Z to make it look a specific way. And that's really accelerating your creativity, especially if you're not a Photoshop savvy person. Adobe
right.
products are complicated. And if you don't have a lot of experience with them,
Yeah,
you miss out on, I would say, 90% of what they have to offer, unless you are someone with a graphic design background, a degree, or some experience in the industry, and you're really well practiced with the software. So AI making that more accessible to people, I think is great. I agree with you
Yeah.
completely on that point.
I mean, I really feel like where this is going to help the industry, it's going to help the most is probably
Right.
photographers.
Yeah.
Wedding photographers, for example, family photo, portrait photographers, all of that. Because
Hmm.
if you can take an image that you have and enhance it into a banner size with one click, or
Sure.
take out some of the elements from the background that just happen to flop into your photo,
Hmm.
that's going to change and help you edit your photos so much quicker.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, speaking of AI, I'm going to be dropping these podcast video episodes into a program that has some AI powerment to it that is going to pull out the most engaging pieces for social media placement.
We hope.
We hope. We haven't used it yet. We're going to try.
We hope
But
they're the most engaging anyway.
but that's
Yeah,
a use of AI that is awesome. That is
that is
a efficient time saver.
right. Absolutely. And we're not asking the AI to generate the content for the podcast. It's not
Right.
telling you and I what to discuss or how to discuss it or what points to make. We're simply using it to edit the clips down for social media sharing. It's totally different.
Yeah.
Again, another, I think, safe, air quotes, safe use of
Right.
this particular technology.
So like AI is not all bad. I think it's
No,
it's like the internet when the internet first came about, right? Everybody
series
was
of
like,
tubes.
yeah, the internet is going to ruin the world. And I mean, I guess it sort of has. But at the same time, it's also created a lot of good too. There's good
Yes.
with bad. And so we're at that point with AI right now where there's a lot of people who probably, I mean, don't like change. There's that. But also are very hesitant about this because they don't know where it's going to go.
Hmm.
But I think it's a matter of looking at it and saying, hey, there's good with the bad always, with every new
Right.
technological advancement. How can we use this in a legal way that is going to enhance my business,
Hmm.
that is going to make my life more efficient,
Right.
make it better for me? And there's always going to be bad actors and bad players. I mean, I think about anytime there's a set of rules to be followed, and listen, there's not a lot of rules with AI right now, so that's part of the problem. That's most of the problem. But anytime there's a set of rules to be followed, people will find a way to snake their way around it, or under it, or over it, or they will look for those
Of course.
loopholes.
It's the human condition.
Yeah, I mean, I think about Kindle stuffing when that was
Oh,
a thing.
Lord have mercy. I had forgotten, not really, but like that one was like way in the back of my mind. Yeah, of course. The Kindle stuffing
Kindle
days.
stuffing days. So Kindle stuffing was in Kindle Unlimited, but you get paid per page. So the longer that your book is, the more that somebody has to read, the more pages, the more you get paid.
Right.
And so people would do what we called Kindle stuffing. So they would put their new book. This was one way to do it at the very end of their book. They would stuff the book full with all of these old titles that were very long in the first, pieces of the book,
Yep.
and create a link that you could skip to the back to read that new title, which was really what they were releasing. And so by doing so, that person essentially read all of the pages, the 600 pages of the prior title, just to get to the new title. Read
Right.
and these books were not very long. Read the 40 pages, 50 pages of the new book, and then the author gets paid for like a 700-page book
Right.
when it was really like 50 pages. I'm just making things easier for numbers, but that's essentially what was happening.
Yes. And
Um,
that's what's going to happen with every new technology that's available.
Correct. So that's sort of my point. And then Kindle, the Amazon finally, did away with that practice, and it became illegal in Amazon's terms of service
Right.
language,
Right.
against their terms of service,
And
to
there
do
are
things like
some
that.
there are some author brands out there that have been deplatformed by Amazon and are no longer allowed to publish there because they were
Kindle
found to
stuffing.
be in violation of the terms of service for doing this practice or some other practice that was,
Yeah,
violative of the
there
TOS.
there was that author that put a giveaway for a Tiffany's bracelet in the end of his book, and
Yep.
that was another one. They had to,
Yep.
the only place that you could get the link to enter for this giveaway was like at the 3/4 mark of the book.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, also now against Amazon's terms of service. It's just like any other anything else. People are going to do things, and then that's why we can't have nice things. That's why things get taken away. It's
You're not wrong though. But that is the human condition. If you put up a roadblock, if you tell me what the rules are, I'm going to look for a way to make it easier for myself,
yeah, and work
no
my
matter
way
what.
around it.
Exactly.
I mean, that's why when you
Exactly.
get a product and it's, for hair gel, it says it's not an oral product and you're not supposed to eat it because somebody
Right.
did. Like, it's just, those are, these are the types of things that happen. So I think with AI specifically, try to use it in a conscientious, moral way that isn't going to get you in hot water later.
Right.
And, know that there aren't any rules right now. But also don't necessarily be afraid to use it if it's going to enhance your business in some way.
Right. Right.
And you're doing it in a way that you feel is ethically sound. If you have a sound
That's
argument that you could make for why you're using it the way you're using it,
yeah.
you know,
I think that's the key. You have to have a good sense of what is and isn't acceptable in the industry.
right,
Um, a baseline knowledge of what is and isn't legal in terms of what you do for a living or what you're doing with your business if it's not your primary source of income. And then you let those things be your guide as you're making decisions about how to enhance either your administrative practices or your creative practices
right,
um, with AI and what it has to offer in terms of making your life easier. If you have doubts, maybe you hold off. If something doesn't feel
yeah,
quite right, if you have questions that you can't satisfactorily answer, maybe you don't go down that path or try that particular use. But like you said, if you can make a solid argument in defense of saving time, um,
yeah,
or anything else that enhances your ability to be productive or to be creative, because those are not always the same thing,
exactly.
um, go for it. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think as long as the product, if you had a hand in the creativity of what you're inputting into the AI generator,
Mhm.
and then you're just asking it to do a different format for you or do
Yep.
something, fine, do it. If you're asking it, if you're asking it to
Yes.
write a letter for you, and that's, or an email, use it for administrative purposes like that. Great.
Use it to replace us. I
Yeah.
mean, and I don't
I
mean that in
mean,
in like the sense of torpedoing our business, but I think about, okay, I'm weird. I like writing blurbs. And I
yeah,
understand this because I'm not an author. And I understand why authors hate to blurb their own books. You're too close to
absolutely.
the story. You're emotionally invested in the entire plot. There are so many things that happen from cover to cover that you don't know what you should use for marketing. And sometimes you're invested in things that maybe don't help with the marketing, that are more like the reader should just discover it in the process of reading the book. But in any event, you don't like writing blurbs. I have multiple clients who literally will just send me plot points and character descriptions and be like, Veronica, please just blurb this for me. And I
Yeah,
do it. And it's a collaborative process. I send a first draft. They edit the things they don't like or the things that don't fit the plot. And then they send something back to me and we keep going until we're both satisfied that this blurb represents the book and is also good marketing copy. And when we reach that point, we're done. And that's the blurb that gets used until it's time to freshen it up and rewrite it again later on down the road because the market changes. Use AI for that. Write
yeah,
your own first draft blurb, give it to AI to freshen up.
yeah. That's perfect.
If you don't have a Heather or a Veronica in your life.
But also, just as a caveat, make sure you read the thing, and make sure
Yeah.
that they didn't like replace the names of your characters with something else or add a plot
Oh, of
point that you
course.
didn't create. That's all.
See, I just assume people are going to practice their own quality control, but that's a very
I
good point. Like
just
you
throwing it
have
out
to
there.
read you have to read that final product from the AI. and,
Yeah.
maybe even put it into a search engine and Google the final product to make sure that it does not contain any
Right.
sort of very popular phrases that might have been used elsewhere.
That is very true because there has been of late a few blurb plagiarism situations,
Yeah.
which is just mind boggling to
Silly.
me. I
It's so
mean, I
silly.
just,
I understand plagiarizing a book for short-term gain, but a blurb
a
is just so
blurb,
like,
I know. And go and look, go and look at the blurbs that are popular. Absolutely. Try to see why they're popular. And
yeah.
mimicking a style is perfectly okay. Using a blurb word for word is not okay.
Hire a consultant one time. There are people out there who are really, really, really good at writing blurbs.
Yeah,
Um, and for a fee, you can have their time. They will blurb a book for you. Some of them will blurb your entire catalog if you ask them to.
exactly.
You know,
There's people out there to help. You are
yes,
not going at it alone.
that's
But,
right.
or try to use AI and try to see if that works for you.
Hmm.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, absolutely legitimate use of AI in the current state it's in. But
Just understand that you're playing with fire in a sense. I mean, this
yeah,
is largely unregulated,
yes,
and there are implications for certain uses that are not great for you or your business.
right. So as long as you have those things in the back of your mind, go forth
Right.
and use it. But yeah, I think it's here to stay in whatever format it's going to be
Totally.
in.
Totally.
And we just have to figure out how we're going to use it to the best of our ability.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. All right. Well, I think that wraps up our discussion on AI for today.
Phew, I get to
Whew,
have the lawyer hat off now.
I know. Do you have an evergreen marketing tip for us, Veronica?
Oh
You,
my gosh, do I ever? Okay.
okay.
Evergreen marketing tip. No matter what your business is, whether you're an author, whether you sell things, whether you provide services, you need a way to directly communicate with your customers. And I think for me personally, that's email marketing right now and has been for years and will be for as long as email continues to be the cheapest and easiest way for us to communicate with each other.
Totally.
Newsletter. No, I don't care what you do. You should have some sort of newsletter.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, back in the day, I imagine it was maybe more of a snail mail type
Yeah,
situation, right?
absolutely. A client list where you could send people postcards or mailers about
A
products,
catalog
services.
subscription, that
Exactly.
sort of thing. Now we've
You
moved to
need to be
email. Yeah.
direct to the consumer somehow, and email continues
Yes.
to be the quickest and most efficient way to do that. So, if you
Because
don't
if,
have a newsletter, start one. If you do have a newsletter, put some time and effort into building it and using it right.
yep. And remember to back it up.
Always.
Always.
Yes.
So, well, until next time. And then what shall we talk about next time? I was thinking maybe what is romance? And we can dive
Ooh,
into,
an off the cuff tease. I wasn't prepared for that. I
yes,
think that's great. Yes, let's
that's what I'm
do.
thinking. I'm
What is
thinking,
romance?
what is romance? Because that industry has a lot of dips and curves and,
Yeah.
you know, sexy times and not sexy times.
Mm, that's true.
So we could talk about all that next time.
And we have a
So,
lot of experience working with authors who write both in and out. So,
yes, exactly. Closed door and non closed door. So,
mhm,
in your face, if you will.
exactly. The good stuff.
The good stuff.
The book talk stuff.
Yes. So next time we will talk about what is romance. So join us next week.
Awesome.
All right.
See y'all then.
Till then.